Alright, so you know that point when your scene feels solid, the lighting's looking decent, everything's in place, but for some reason it still feels a little flat? And no, it's not about adding more detail. What it really needs is depth, and that's where True Depth steps in. This add-on takes any 2D image and turns it into actual 3D geometry, right inside Blender. Not a parallax trick or some projection cheat. This is real mesh you can orbit around, light, and animate anything else in your scene. Everything happens locally too, right on your GPU or CPU, so there's no need to connect to the cloud or bounce between external apps. It all stays inside Blender. Once it's installed, you'll find it in its own tab on the side panel, and this is where things get fun. Before we even load anything in, you'll want to choose which model to work with. You've got three options: small, base, and large. Small is great if you're on a low-spec machine or just testing things out. Base gives you a nice balance between speed and quality, and large gives you the highest level of detail, which is great for close-ups or any shot that really leans on depth. Using it feels surprisingly simple and easy. Just load in your image, hit a button, and watch your flat picture turn into a full-blown 3D object. So, let's walk through how it works. Start by picking an image. Could be a character, a drawing, a landscape, even just a product shot. Immediately after that, you've got access to the tilt correction slider, which comes in handy if the image looks skewed or slightly off. A quick tweak and regeneration usually does the trick. Next, hit generate depth map, and in a few seconds, you'll get a grayscale version of your image, where white areas represent the closest parts and black goes into the background. Then, you just click create mesh, and now you've got actual geometry in your scene. And this isn't just for show. That mesh reacts to lights, casts shadows, and works like any 3D object in your project. From here, you get some controls to shape the result. First thing you might want to play around is the subdivision level, and you already know what's that for. Go higher for more details and lower for less. Next is displacement strength, which pushes the entire mesh outward, creating the base form. Displace detail tightens up the finer textures and edges. And if it starts getting too noisy, smooth repetitions helps clean things up gradually while keeping the form readable. These three work best when balanced together. You crank up one, ease off the others, and find the sweet spot based on the kind of image you're working with. And there's also all sorts of settings for you to play around, like bump controls, minimum and maximum crop across X and Y axes, and so much more. Now that we covered these settings, let's talk about shading. By default, it applies a principled BSDF material, which already gives you solid lighting and reflections right out of the box. If you're going for a flatter look though, you can switch to an emission shader or just plug the texture straight into the surface input. And here's where it gets even crazier. It works on video too. You can load in an MP4, hit generate video depth map, and it'll create a sequence of depth for every frame. Now you've got animated geometry that moves with your footage, and you can light it, add depth of field, even animate your camera through it. It's kind of mind-blowing to watch something 2D turn into a 3D scene you can explore in real time. And this goes beyond characters and objects. I've used it to rough out environments too, like taking a city photo, generating a mesh, stretching it slightly to exaggerate the space, and tossing in a few lights. Suddenly, you've got a believable mockup that sells depth without building a single polygon by hand. And if your mesh still feels a little too smooth, you can push in some extra surface detail using the bump strength slider. It doesn't change the mesh geometry, but it makes your surface pop once the lighting hits it, especially useful for that extra bit of realism. So yeah, True Depth takes you from a single image to a dynamic textured 3D object with barely any setup. And because everything runs in Blender without the need of extra software, it's fast, lightweight, and super easy to fit in your workflow. It's one of those tools you don't realize you need until you use it, and once you do, it opens up a ton of creative shortcuts. The whole thing only costs $15, which feels like a really good deal for something that does this much. You can grab it now from superhivemarket.com. Just look up True Depth and it'll pop right up. If you like this breakdown, stick around. I've got more tools and add-ons coming up that are just as fun to mess around with. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.